Okay, this is the first live lecture on this. I will tell you, I borrowed these from John Kelsey at NIST this summer, 2018. I did modify them slightly, but it's free, and if you read the agreement, I'm allowed to use this stuff. So I just put it on my background. Okay, so let's talk about blockchain. First of all, does anyone here own any Bitcoin? No one owns Bitcoin yet? You do? How much do you own?
70% of them.
Okay. I bought Bitcoin the other, maybe a month ago. I'll tell you how much it's worth. I bought $1 worth of Bitcoin. Today it's worth 67 cents. Yeah, we're talking big bucks here, let me tell you. Wow, isn't that crazy? But I tell you, Bitcoin has gone from nothing to like crazy expensive. Okay, so we're going to talk about why this is important. It's a single, immutable, serialized source of truth. Okay, that sentence says it all. So we're going to see what the heck that really means. Okay, we're going to talk about how to play chess. We're going to talk about some problems with it, how they work. We're going to talk about different types, and we're going to wrap it all up. Okay, so I want to play chess with somebody. Alice and Bob let them play chess. So Alice sends Bob 1 to E4. Then Bob sends 1 to E5. Then Alice says 2 to F3, whatever, okay? So each of these messages tell them where to move their piece, okay? So before we can play this game of chess, what must we know? Anybody? What's the one thing we should always know at the beginning of a chess game?
Which color each person from?
Okay.
Or who is first? The setup of the board?
The setup of the board is what I'm going over. You have to know, first of all, you need to know who's playing and the color, but you need to know the setup. Okay? If we do not agree on the state of the board, then we cannot play it. Can you imagine a board that was randomly set up? How could you possibly play it? So we all know when we set up chess, they go in a specific place. So we all agree on the state of the board. So they both know the starting positions of the board. They both know the sequences of messages so far. So that way we can stop in the middle of the game, pick it up another day. Thus, they can reconstruct the state of the board. So we kept track of all the messages. We should be able to take any other board and reproduce the same exact result. You all agree on that? Okay. So if we agree on the history, we agree on the present state of the world. Right? I mean, you know, all these people, he's not my president. But if you look at it, he was elected. So is he not our president? So the state of the world says he's our current president, even though people don't believe it. But that's the same for everything. That's the same for everything out there. Okay? Okay. What's that got to do with blockchain? Well, here's what blockchain is. It's a distributed system. We all need to agree on the state of the system. We all need to agree on the initial state of the system. What a blockchain does, it contains a historical data of all transactions. Okay. You ever seen, you ever get audited by the IRS or anything? Or, well, I have. It wasn't fun, but it wasn't a big deal. I wasn't breaking the law, just because TurboTax put the wrong phone number in there. But what an auditor does is he looks at your books and sees how you came up with those values. Has anyone ever done accounting type work at all? Tell you, it's a pain in the butt. Because I ran my own company, I used QuickBooks Online, accounting software. And you know what the biggest problem I had with doing accounting for my own company? Someone gives you 20 bucks, what do you do with it?
Okay.
You can't, that's illegal.
I mean, that's legal.
Yeah, you can't just put it into your account. Because if you put it into your account, where did it come from? I can't say Bob gave it to me. There's no account for Bob gave it to me. There's an account for Bob, but Bob's not going to list it on Bob's books. So I can't list it. It came from Bob because Bob's not listing it. So I can't put it in my books because I didn't get it. Oh, it was a pain in the butt. Because sometimes it was just stuff it's made that way so you can go back and figure out everything. I should be able to look at your taxes, see how you determine everything. You know, my mother-in-law, we redid all her taxes. We paid. You know, she's owed for like many years, got it all taken care of. And I don't know, I might have told you all this a couple of weeks ago. She got a bill from tax commission. since she owed like $333 for 2013 taxes. Did I tell you all that? Finally got all her taxes caught up. We get another bill the other day since she owes $333 for 2013. We're like, are you serious? So what do? Mail them a darn check along with her taxes because we had a copy of that. We get a check back for $33 of overpayment by $300. We're like, you send us the darn bill for $333, and we pay you $333, and they send us the $33 back. What it was is they supposedly didn't get the taxes, the tax forms. So I guess they just go on a, well, you owe this much. Then we actually sent the tax forms in so they could prove what she made. They recalculated and gave us a refund. Driving me crazy. Okay. Same kind of thing here. A blockchain gives us the ability of history. We can track transactions. Okay. Thus, we can all agree on the current state of the system. If we can track it all the way back to blockchain number 1, we should be able to see everything. Okay. Why is it so important? So with Bitcoin, suppose I want to give you 100 Bitcoin, which is a lot of money right now. First of all, you need to know whether I have 100. Wouldn't that be kind of important? Because if I'm giving you 100, you would hope I have 100. If not, it's like a bounced check. Okay. So you need to know if I have 100 Bitcoin. And to know if I have 100 Bitcoin, we need to know how much Bitcoin I have. In other words, we need to know the current state of the system. Okay. So no, we need to know the current state. If you're looking at an old state of the system, I might be paying with money I don't already have. I mean, you guys are mostly young in here. Does anyone remember back when you could write hot checks? When you recover? I was like, okay, paydays on Friday, and I'm going to mail it. So I'm going to mail it on Wednesday because it's not going to go out till Thursday. By the time they get it and cash it, the money will be in there. Oh, I used to do that all the time.
No, it wasn't like Wednesday, Friday. It was you did it on Friday night or Saturday because you know what major process that Monday or
Oh, that's what it was. I couldn't remember what it was, but yeah, it was. I used to do that all the time. I still, I mean, nowadays I don't, but you know, yeah, it was crazy. Okay, so what problem does the blockchain solve? The blockchain lets us agree on the state of the system, even if we don't. You might not agree with it, but if there's proof, you have to agree. Okay, all trust each other. So the ultimate goal, we all need to agree on the state of the system, how much Bitcoin everybody has, okay, who owns which Bitcoin, and what's the current state of the program. Okay, we can all agree on it if we can agree on the history of it. So if we can agree on history from the starting point until today, we're all good. I should be able to see exactly where Ken Dewey spent all his money. Okay. It says, we do not want a single trusted arbiter of the state of the world. Can you imagine one person being in charge of this? Yeah, how many of you balance your checkbooks? Still? I haven't balanced my checkbook in years. But years ago, when I used to find problems all the time. I still remember I had a MidFirst bank. You know what MidFirst is? My bank was the one over on I-240 in Western, I think. Right there by Red Lobster, who has endless shrimp right now, by the way. You like how I go on these tangents? But I got my statement one month, and everything cleared by a dime off. Everything cleared by 10 cents off. So I was quite angry at that point. I would literally balance my checkbook every single month and every single transaction. I went to the bank and like, no big deal. It's just an accounting issue. We fixed it. I'm like, no big deal. You literally sent me that every single thing cleared for 10 cents off. Get rid of that bank. But I mean, yeah, kind of scared me. But nowadays, I think it's a little bit better. So, okay, so we don't want one person to be in charge of anything. Okay, we want some level of decentralization. In other words, we do not want Eric back there in charge of everything because, you know, we don't want to trust him. Okay. Wow. What we do not want a single point of failure. Okay. Trusted arbiters is if we have a completely trusted arbiter. So if we had somebody we can totally trust 100%, we wouldn't need a blockchain. So give me a name of somebody you can trust 100%. There's no one. You can't even trust yourself 100%. You can't. It says we could just define reality, whether a TA said it was. If we had this trusted arbiter, we could just say, oh yeah, Bob says it's okay. No, that wouldn't work. For payment system, imagine a trusted arbiter is the bank. Isn't that kind of how it works now? The bank provides the official sequence of transactions and balances, unless you're mid first, then you're off by a dime. Okay? When you want to spend your money, I send a message to the bank saying, hey, give Parnell the money. Okay? Bank permits transactions if you have money, and then updates my balance. And how it works, pretty much. Yeah, another tangent here. You know, a lot of banks allow you to go overdrawn. You know, what do they call it? There's a name for it now where they automatically pay. They charge you like $35, but they cover your stuff. And I think it was it Chase? No, it wasn't Chase. It's one of the banks that my mother-in-law used. I found one of her statements. It was a statement of an entire list. It was like a $7 charge. And every time she charged, it was a $35 fee. $35 fee. $2 charge, $35 fee. This $35 fee. This $30. It was like dozens of charges this month for just a couple bucks each. $35 fee, $35 fee, $35 fee, $35. It was crazy. Okay, but I can't believe they do that. It's crazy. You know, it's just nuts. Okay, so a bank permits transactions if you have money or if they want to make some cash off of you. Okay, why not just have a trusted arbiter? Well, first of all, you know, if Eric back there is our trusted arbiter, what happens if he dies? No. Sad. But you know, I took care of a company called Dixie Air Title Service. Gerald Pruitt was his name. The owner and his wife were in the company. He died. Just got up and died one. Well, didn't get up. He went down and died one day. But everything was in his name. So they asked, you know, since he died, they hired me to take care of his stuff. One day the website died. The name expired. I had no clue where it was hosted, and obviously the wife didn't. So I finally figured out his house the name is hosted out of Australia. You ever know that Australia is exactly half a day off from us? So when they only work through email, and when they're working, I'm sleeping. So what they do is I'll send them an email. They get it while I'm sleeping. Then they get it. No, when I send it, they're sleeping. So when they receive it, I'm sleeping. So they send the response back to me while I'm sleeping. Then when I finally get up to answer it, now they're sleeping. Oh, it took days to get their website back up because of the time change. But I mean, there was a single point of failure to the website. The name goes away, what happens to your website? It's gone. It's not a good plan. Okay. So this trusted arbiter goes down for a week, the system stops working. Their website was down for about a week. Okay. I had to provide them death documents. It was a pain in the butt. Okay. Concentration of power. He who controls the past controls the future. Makes sense. Okay. Trusted arbiters could censor transactions, impose new conditions, or get transactions included in history. Maybe they could take money on the side. Okay. Maybe there's nobody we all trust. There is. I cannot think of a single person everybody would trust. Okay. So what does they give us? First of all, blockchain is a distributed system. Okay. We don't all trust each other or a single entity. Okay. We want to agree in history, so we agree on the state of the system, and then we can do something with it. Okay. How they work is you're going to pay somebody. It goes up to the system, to the P2P network that verifies the transaction, checks and makes sure it's all there, adds it to the blockchain, tells me it's my money. Okay. So this is processed at every single node at the same time. So no one node manages this. The transaction happens across all of them. It's a sequence of hash change records, which I don't want to run out of time here. Okay. Says there's some procedure for adding blocks, which we'll talk about, and there's also validity conditions. We want to make sure the blocks are valid. Okay. And there's also some procedures for deciding between alternative candidate blockchains, which we're going to talk about that as well here in a minute. Okay. So a blockchain, we use what's called the cryptographic hash function. We've talked about hash functions before, and you're going to be doing it for this one. It takes any bit string for import. It takes something, a file, a number, anything. It takes anything of any size and produces a fixed length output, like an MD5 hash. Okay. Then no one can find collisions in it. If there's a collision, we have an issue. Okay. There's some SHA-256, 512. MD5 is not really good anymore. Okay. Okay, what's a collision? If two hashes produce the same, or if we can hash two different things to get the same result, like I showed you in the other presentation, that's an issue. Okay, cryptographic hashes need to be collision resistance. Okay, resistant. Okay, so why is it useful? We need to make sure that no two things produce the same result, is what all that says. Okay, how do they work? Well, we take an index, we take a previous value and a payload and a hash, then that becomes the previous. You see how the previous one is actually the hash of all the prior stuff. So we go all the way to the right. The previous on the right-hand side over here, okay, is a combination of this one, which is the combination of this one, which is the combination of this one, and so on and so forth. So if somebody was to go in here, right here, and change something, okay, say down here someone goes in and changes the payload. By changing this payload, it obviously changes this hash. By changing this hash, it changes this previous value. So if all this is already stored in the blockchain, if someone goes way in the back here and changes something, what's it do? It affects the entire system. It can no longer be guaranteed. Like right now, when we bring a dollar bill, you know, like $100 bill, they check that one. But can you imagine if every time you spent any money, they check everything back to the day you were born? It's kind of what we're doing here. Imagine if you're going to go write a check, rather than just checking if you got money, they'll literally go back and verify every transaction until the day you got your checking account. That's what a blockchain does at all times. So the entire history of the entire system is checked every single time, which is kind of cool. All right. Hash chains and blockchains. Hash chains have the property of every record contains a commit to all previous ones. So I showed you. Every record basically commits every record prior to it. I'm trying to hurry this up a little bit. Okay. Says each block in the chain commits all previous blocks. They include something called the nonce, which is a small value, which is not important for your assignment, but it's just a randomized value. Okay. I'm trying to finish this. Bitcoin uses it. Let's see what else I got. Fork chains. This is kind of important. Well, Bitcoin actually is forked at one point. So has Ethereum and all these other ones. What a forked chain means, say, prime example is Europe. Someone's been to Europe. Someone had to be in Europe. No one's been to Europe? Yeah. When were you in Europe?
Last year.
Last year. Now they have the euro. But you remember before that what they had? We had the Deutschmark, we had the English pound. So at one point, the financial system of Europe, what happened to it? It forked. We went our separate ways. Some places could still use their currency, and I bet some still do to this day.
Danish krones.
Yeah. But now we went the new way of the euros. The Bitcoin, maybe Alice and Bob no longer play together. So now Alice wants to go her way, so now we'll have Bitcoin A and Bitcoin B. One for Alice, one for Bob. That's happened. Ethereum's done the same thing recently. So two different ways. And then when you're buying, you have to know I'm buying Bitcoin A or I'm buying Bitcoin B. Okay, that's fork chains. Okay, adding new chains. When you add chains when you add blocks to the chain, a couple different ways of doing it. Proof of work or permission change. You know, you can actually go out there and rent a Bitcoin processing machine, and it produces Bitcoins. It does something called proof of work. Doesn't do, actually Ethereum does it more than Bitcoin right now. If you can prove you've done the work, you can get Bitcoin. So you wonder, why would they give you Bitcoin for just proving you did some work? Why does real estate pay me? Aren't I proving to them I'm doing some work? What's the difference? There's literally no difference. If you can prove to the Bitcoin community that you did work, they'll give you money. What you do is you do all this big math, come up with these values that match certain things, and then they go ahead and give you Bitcoins. You can look into it. It's up there. Bitcoin mining, Ethereum mining, it's all up there. Okay. So proof of work is I wanted to get a big computational system. We don't have time to read all this, but you can read over some of these. It's not that big a deal, but it's a lot of math. Okay. All right. Need to move this lecture to another day. It's too long. Permission blockchains. It's kind of like our trusted arbiter, but not one person. They're trying to get away from proof of work and get it to the point where we can have these arbiters decide upon it. There will be trust. There will be trustee. And why would we trust them? Sounds like we're getting into the same problem we have with our banks, but it is out there. Then we also have to get a jail-free card. Why build different things? I don't know. It's just, you know, I don't have time to read the rest of this. You can watch the other recording if you want. But I want to get in and show you your assignment real quick. Okay? You can watch the recording for the rest of it. I covered the majority of it.